Good morning, folks. My name is John Saunders. Welcome to BOM 9.
And I'm John Grimsmo, and this is the business of machining, aka BOM.
Oh, yeah, I guess I shouldn't. John and I call it BOM because it's
just easier.
It's efficiency. yeah, right.
It's lean.
And it plays off. I guess it plays off of bill of materials.
Yeah, I thought about that the first time I read it, and I thought it was funny.
Hey, so that's actually an interesting question. Do you, for your Norseman and Rasks and Tops, do you have a built-out BOM where you help to use to track inventory and levels and costing and all that?
You know, with Barry being here and him being an accountant, we just started doing that, and it's been very helpful.
Yeah, it makes you feel, it's like such a de-stressor. And again, I'm going to reference that Pearson tour. I can't wait to get that video up because he had the Kanban or Kanban cards, and it only works better with certain types of inventory, but like for boxes, there's a Kanban card stuck like 8 boxes up from the bottom of these stack of boxes or parts or pallets. And when you get to that Kanban card, it just tells you what to do, like to reorder from this company with this vendor in this quantity, and that lasts us for about 4 months. Or if it's a machine part, sometimes there was even a QR code that pulled up that private video that showed, here's where the file is, here's how to set up the machine for it. I mean, just crazy.
Wow. Yeah, even just since you mentioning it to me a couple weeks ago, I've been talking about it with Eric and Barry, like this kind of inventory, this minimum quantity where you make more, order more, and we've really started to streamline. So I can't wait to see that video you got coming out.
Awesome. Are you ever doing catch-up? Like does Eric ever say, hey, I need more pivots or something?
Yeah, a little bit. But now we've got a solid inventory of all the little parts, and Barry broke it down like a Rask has 5 screws. So we have, if we have 200 screws divided by 5 equals how many knives we can make. So instead of seeing 200 screws and it looks like a lot, but divided by 5, it's really not.
Right. So here's a good question. Are you glad you weren't that analytical person a year or two ago? In other words, if you had been too focused on stuff like that, it would have cut into the John Grimsmo that makes amazing.
I think it would have slowed me down a lot. Because the progress, the growth, the R&D had to come first to a certain extent. And now that I've done that and I can slow down on that side to be able to track and manage and cash flow analyze and all that is becoming very important to, grow the business.
It's kind of like you're making a mistake by not being too organized, but so what? We'll fix that later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fine tune as we go along.
Right. It's fun.
Mm-hmm. And how's your organizational shop? Anything new?
It's funny. Everybody always talks about how they're busy, and I think it's a little bit of a defense mechanism where, again, it's like nobody ever wants to admit they lost money gambling or whatever. And we usually are busy. We're different levels of busy, but almost every time over the last year, we've been busy. And yesterday, we have one job that we sent a test piece out for, and we're waiting for approval before we run the rest. And I was like, oh my gosh, we have no other job shop work. I'm not even close to winning a bid on anything. And I was like, wow, this is slow.
Huh.
And I thought it would be funny. I just went on Facebook and I was like, we're slow. Because nobody ever wants to say that. And it's not a bad thing. And I've told you this before, I like our little model where we have sort of a little bit of a diversified revenue stream where if we get slow on job shop stuff, I just build more inventory for the products that we make.
Yep.
It's such a no-brainer, and it lets you scale and kind of ebb and flow with no worries. And I'll be honest too, this might sound a little bit controversial, but some of it is also nobody wants to come work or be around a company that's just sitting there twiddling their thumbs. So by no means should you just make scrap or make parts that aren't going to ever get used, but it's also like, hey, make sure there's projects to do, keep people busy, keep people energized, and make time to improve the shop.
Absolutely. I mean, you've been telling me over the past few months that you're purposely slowing down the job shop work. You're not hunting for it. You're not bidding on too much more because you want more John Saunders time.
Yep.
Well,
and so in that is happening. We're also growing in the sense that the Haas has increased our appetite and our ability, and Jared's now running that machine a lot more on his own. And then this is weird. I don't know why this is, but I moved into my office 2 days ago.
So when we describe your office,
yeah. So when we built out this building, it used to be a machine shop for the local community college, and there were these classrooms in the front, which worked out perfect because one of them is our CNC training classroom. There's this other room, and it's large for an office, I'll be honest. And I didn't move into it for over a year. And I kind of just didn't like it. It was further away from the machine shop floor. Because I was never in it, it felt kind of cold and whatever. I'm sounding too dramatic about it. But nevertheless, for reasons I'm going to not tell anybody about, but maybe we'll share on the next Business of Machining podcast, I had to move into it. And it has been a game changer this past week. I've even had a head cold, so I've been a little bit kind of under the weather. And being in this office has helped me think and structure and plan, and it's actually been a good push a little bit away from the shop. I love being out in the shop, but it's also important that the guys are able to do stuff on their own. It's again what Jay Pearson said. We all work for the process.
Yep.
And so for Jared being able to QC stuff on his own or see things through, I'm not sure. I need to think about it more because I really want to share this. But there's been something transformative about being able to think and work and do, and it makes me very happy.
That's amazing. It's kind of a catch-22, it sounds like, because you get to remove yourself from the shop so that you can make your people more independent, but you also don't want to become the stuffy boss stuck in his office that people have to like knock and ask permission to talk to.
Right.
So it is catch-22, I get it, but the boss needs to do what the boss needs to do, right?
Well, and I think it's also, I love being a machinist, but I also love running this business and growing this business. And I think when I was in the room, just one room over, I was bouncing between the two so much that it was hard to do either one well. And now it's good because I can do quiet, solid work here. And I can still program the parts in here and do that sort of work. It's just been great.
Well, the difference being the other room was an open room. You could literally look and see your Haas and see the whole shop, right?
Right.
This is now a closed door. It's amazing.
Right.
Yeah, I feel the same with our lunchroom.
Yeah.
Upstairs, you can close the door and have a quiet 20 minutes to yourself, or together, or whatever. Eat some lunch, watch some YouTube for 20 minutes, and then it chill. And the machines and the tumbler and everything in the shop are running, but you get to kind of like turn your mind off it just for a few minutes. It's been very invigorating, relaxing. I
think part of it too is by no means would I say. I think we're very early in this journey of what. Well, I think both of us are early in our journey, but I think as you get successful, I'm putting this out there, kind of weird, but I feel like there's some amount of guilt of success because others won't succeed. Or others take longer to succeed. And hey, we've had some pretty phenomenal trolling come out on our YouTube channel lately, and I struggle with it. And I think, well, how much should I answer that to people? And look, folks, John Grimsmo and I did the same thing. We both relied on our wives or other income to help us get our first machine, and then we've steamrolled that over. People say you've grown so fast. I think, oh my God, it's been 10 years. That's not fast in most people's definition.
Yeah, it feels fast from other people's perspective, but man.
You and I did that podcast with, what's it called? I get them confused.
MakerCast.
MakerCast. Sorry, I was saying Making Chips. MakerCast, and we talked about some really cool takeaways from your story that you hadn't shared before.
Yeah, it was really interesting sharing a bunch of stuff that, I know, but I haven't realized that I haven't shared publicly. So that'll be up, well, by the time ours goes up, I don't know when. But we'll talk about it on social, I'm sure.
We'll put a link in the Libsyn for the MakerCast podcast.
Yeah, it was really fun.
But it was really fun. It was kind of silly, which I really enjoyed. I was sitting there just laughing for half the time.
Yep.
Some of the antics there from the early days. I actually pulled up some of your old videos, and it is hilarious to watch you, and I'm not making fun of you because I was there too, to watch you with those old Grizzly or Asian machines. And actually, it's funny you say Asian machines. You're still running Asian machines.
Yeah.
But
it's the other side of the pond now.
Right. The other spectrum of that.
Yeah.
Anyways, the other thing I thought of you this week on when I kind of got into the office was when I was thinking big. When I was at my day job, which I liked but I didn't like. I liked but I knew it wasn't going to be my career. I started this Excel file called Free Time. And it was, what would I do tomorrow if I didn't have the obligations of coming to this day job? And I always knew from mentors and people above me that you don't quit. You're not allowed to justify pursuing something entrepreneurial just because you don't like your day job. That can be a driver, but you can't quit your day job just because you don't like it, period. But I thought, okay, well, let's think of what would I do? What would I do that would justify this? And I always tried to think big and what would I do? What I love to do. And for me, that's the fascination of making parts and Arduino and automation. And having moved into this office this week has helped me sort of think back to, what do I want? Like, and it's not that I want to make money, it's that I want revenue that lets us continue to pay the bills, build this company that makes products that we're proud of, and then grow these videos. And it helps you just start thinking that through. And you've been such a help for me of whether it's your own stories or talking about the books and podcasts that you listen to about people that are able to think big.
Big and specific is a phrase that I heard in one of the books. You know, very big ideas, but also being very specific about what they are, because it's like, I want to make a lot of money. That's big and vague.
Right.
Big and specific at least gives you a target, a destination to go to.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if you jump in your car and start driving, you're not going to end up anywhere specific. But if you're driving to LA, then, well, you have a destination. You know, you can map the route to get there, right? So I'm starting to think that a lot for our business too. You know, where do we want to go? How do we want to grow this thing? Do we want to grow? And yes is the answer. But specifically how to do it. And it might not materialize to be exactly that method, but at least if you have a roadmap, then you're going somewhere, as opposed to just kind of letting the business do what it wants to do, which is kind of what we did for a lot of years, where, you know, we would just came to the shop, made knives, did some marketing, called it good. But now there's starting to be a little bit more plan to the whole action, and it's becoming fun to think about.
But what you did then was fine, because the stakes weren't so high. You didn't have a Mori and a Nakamura, and I didn't. You know, I've got payroll in this building and all that. And it's like what you just said. I love that big and specific. Like for me, it's like, okay, and I try to budget either on a daily or a weekly basis. I really don't care much about monthly or annual budgets, because people don't think, and you don't think, I want to sell, I mean, maybe you do, 100 knives this year or 1,000 knives. I think it's much easier to handle it in smaller doses. And I think, okay, if I could sell 3 of this product that we make and 6 of this product we make every day, and I know what our job shop work is going to be relatively by the week, then that covers my overhead. It lets me do this, and then that gives me still 35 or 50 hours of free time throughout the week to make my videos, which is what I love.
Yep, absolutely. We've been going back and forth because, you know, Barry is the bean counter, and he'll tell us all kinds of numbers. Some numbers work for me and other numbers work for Eric. So if our goal is, say, 1,000 knives a year, that's all big and good and well and stuff, but it's so distant and so vast, you can't break it down. Right. What do I have to do every day? So we break it down per month, and we break it down per day. And, you know, 4 knives a day is a solid average for us to hold. And, you know, we used to do 4 knives a week. And that was amazing. That was fairly good, and that was not too long ago. That was just a few months ago. And now Eric has proven that he can do 4 knives a day. Maybe not every day consistently. It depends on, you know, inventory and workflow and stuff. But he can, like, within a 2-day period, he can start and finish 8 knives. You know, that's amazing. From raw materials. They can be machined, heat treated, finished, sharpened, anodized, shipped within a 2-day period. It's pretty amazing that we've gotten the whole workflow down that way. And now Eric's thinking, well, 4 knives a day is totally possible. I bet you I could do 6.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that? And I'm sure you're not. I mean, it's Grimsmo. You're not shortchanging quality.
No,
is it just really finding efficiencies?
Yeah, fine tuning, speeding up processes. Eric's constantly refining his sharpening technique. You know, sometimes he'll spend 30, 40 minutes sharpening a knife, and that seems kind of ridiculous. And now he's got it down to 5, 10, 15 minutes, depending. Yeah. And just streamlining it and, you know, reducing the variables.
Would you ever, I don't know your minutia detail operations that well, but would you ever buy like a second 2x72 belt grinder so you could have 2 belts on at the same time?
Yeah, we've thought about it. Eric certainly wants to invest some money into a couple more grinders and disc sanders and buffers. Right. Because, you know, truth be told, I'm spending all the money on my toys in this business. Right. And once we can afford it, then it'll be Eric's turn for sure. We want to get a new tumbler, things of that nature.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because as much as that's an investment and so forth, it's way cheaper to buy you know, $10,000 worth of that stuff than it is to try to hire a second Eric.
Right. And that kind of stuff can increase his efficiency quite a bit. And then after that, we can hire a second Eric or third Eric, and then hopefully keep the machines running nonstop. So maybe instead of 4 knives a day, we're making 8 without too much effort. I don't know. It is possible, and now I see it. It's fantastically fun to think about.
Have you looked more into those tumblers that we were talking about? The ones that, what was it called? They were like vertical oscillating tumblers?
A centrifugal disc tumbler?
Yes.
Yeah, I looked into that a lot, and I binged on YouTube one Saturday morning for about 3 hours, and I watched every video I could find on them. They seem really cool, and then I sent an inquiry to massfin.com. They make these kind of tumblers.
Yeah.
They're in Michigan, Minnesota, something like that. Then Monday morning, the owner of the company calls me up, and we talked for an hour, or half an hour, and talked all about tumblers, and he's a finishing nerd, and I'm a CNC nerd, and it was kind of a match made in heaven.
Amazing.
It was really funny.
That's awesome.
But he said those centrifugal disc tumblers, they have an air gap in the bottom because it's just like a blender, he said. So there's a disc in the bottom that rotates and oscillates the media. And there has to be an air gap in the bottom. And he said your blades will get stuck in that air gap. I've seen it before.
Really?
Yeah, so
it's that thick of an air gap?
Yeah, he said it could be like 50 thou or something. And the fluid is supposed to go through it to kind of wash everything out.
50 thou, but your blade is way thicker than 50 thousandths.
Not at the tip.
Oh, it'll get stuck, just the tip down in there, huh?
Just the wedge will get stuck in there.
Boo.
So have you ever seen a high energy tumbler?
No.
Imagine 4 drums, like big water bottles, kind of like a milk jug.
Okay.
4 of those, but they have a cap that goes on the end. And they're fairly small, or they can be bigger, but 4 of those that oscillate around, you just got to look it up, high energy tumbler.
High energy tumbler, okay,
Yeah,
I'll Google it.
It's hard to explain, but it's really cool. And apparently they have like 8 times the cutting capability of any other kind of tumbler, just because they have so much G-force pounding the material.
Huh.
A lot less water waste, a lot less media required.
I'm thinking of some like spider-like thing that has jugs on the end of each arm, like a roller coaster.
Kinda.
The teacup thing at the fair ride where there's bottles turning inside of.
Exactly. It's that, but a Ferris wheel shape. So it just goes around like that, and each of the Ferris wheel containers rotate themselves.
You absolutely need one of these.
I know. So he quoted me about $13,500 for one of their smaller ones, which is a lot of money.
Yeah.
But yeah, he said we've sold, Chris Reeve Knives. They're a big company. They have 30 employees. They have 8 of his tumblers, his high energy tumblers.
Wow.
All the big knife companies, he mentioned Benchmade, Kershaw, et cetera, et cetera. They all have his tumbler, his high energy tumbler. So I'm like, wow, that's good praise.
We bought that not MC Finishing, that's who we bought it from. The Mr. D. Burr,
Right.
For, I think the whole thing shipped with media and soap was $2,400 or $2,700. We bought it because our parts are heavy. I was spending time and money shipping them out and packaging them up in the hassle factor. But your blades are low quantity, low weight. Why don't you just send them out?
Do it in-house.
Yeah.
We used to send out in the beginning before we got our tumbler, and the attention to detail was not there because parts would stick together and they'd send it back to us anyway, and they're like half tumbled. And
seriously?
Yeah, and our knives are such aesthetic quality that we need full control over it, and we like to do it. So,
do you still do that zip tie trick?
Yeah.
I hope that's a public trick.
Oh yeah,
trick,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Cool. Huh. It's funny. I was thinking a lot about doing a chip break on negotiations because I think it's a really, really, really powerful thing in business and in life. And it's not, negotiations aren't just what you think about, like I'm buying a machine, I need to negotiate it. Negotiations are a little thing, like when you're working with a vendor to do your deburring. How do you convince them to make it a win-win where you get the parts you want, but they take the time to do things like individually prepare a blade or something like that?
Yeah. That would be super helpful because we still deal with outside vendors. We still get stuff waterjet, double disc, lapped.
Right.
Our DLC coating is sent out, and we're getting bad parts back. So yeah, any help we can get negotiating.
I saw that fixture you built. That was really cool.
Yeah, I finished them yesterday, and that's going to hold all of our small screws and pivots and things like that because they were scratching them before, trying to thread them into fixtures. And yeah, so we're going to screw everything in, and we're going to send them a full fixture, and they're just going to clean it and coat it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's going to be faster and easier for them too, and we're getting back perfect parts, hopefully. Should work out.
It's the same thing with us on our anodizer for the Tormach fixture plates that we're making. I talked to the guys. I said, hey, do you want me to come up? It's a 2-hour drive. I said, do you want me to come up? I'd love to bring them and meet with you. And they said, no. And I said, well, how does this work? This is a high dollar item. The cost of anodizing is relatively low to the value of the part at that stage in the process.
Yeah.
So if you scratch it, how do you deal with the fact that it's a 3-figure part, and they're like, we just don't have, that just doesn't happen. And they weren't being arrogant about it, but they were giving me this vote of confidence. And I thought, okay. So I sent them a batch of 6, and sure enough, one came back with some pretty big scratches, and they started to say, well, you should be able to Scotch-Brite that out. And I'm like, no.
It's anodized, it's finished.
Right, and that's when we had to take, and it's just frustrating because as a business person, you would think I would trade you money for your services of anodizing. It should just be perfect, but it's not. I mean, Grimsmo, you're living proof of that. You've been through every vendor in the country on certain processes, trying to get people that did things acceptable, and that's one reason why I think you've gone full Grimsmo on your lathe. And
Yep, doing everything in-house now.
Right.
Yep.
But there's still, it seems unlikely that you're going to buy a water jet, for example. So you still have to rely on every other people, period.
Right.
For some things.
Yeah. So, how do you kindly but firmly train them to meet your quality standards within their price, and everybody be happy about it? Or, as long as you're happy, they can be less happy as long as they're doing good work.
Well, and there's a trade-off. Like in this example, I ended up sort of coming up with a solution, which was I just started talking to them about, well, you can't use the existing holes because those holes need to have full anodize on them. And the backside is the only area where we could have anything changed. And then we sort of realized, well, why don't we add 2 sacrificial holes on the underside? But he didn't propose that because he didn't think that was even an option. Right. And you kind of had to work together to, and it sounds silly in the end, but let me tell you, it wasn't obvious right now at first.
I completely understand. Like, one example is my Mighty Bite vacuum fixture.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful anodized blue, and there is one hole in the front, a threaded hole, that's not anodized. And it's, over time, it's corroding.
Serious?
But obviously, I knew from my anodizing experience that obviously that's where they held it from. They screwed a thing in there and held it in the anodizing tank. But yeah, because it's not anodized, and because I used to use such crappy coolant in my early Tormac days, it is corroded inside.
So this is going to sound silly, but what does corroded aluminum look like?
It's white powdery.
Really?
Yeah, it's like white rust, and it just powders up, and then the screw's not going to go in there anymore, and it's, that hole is...
So it's real.
Oh yeah.
It's not just surface corrosion, like it's actually into the material.
Yep, into and grows out with this gross white powder stuff. So if you do, say yours are black, right? Your fixtures? Mm-hmm. I would, if they do a sacrificial hole, I would put a black screw in there permanently.
Really?
Yeah.
When we're done.
Because you don't want a white powdery hole developing over time.
Sure.
I've had the Mighty Bite fixture for like 3 or 4 years now, and I'm still bringing this up. This is the first time I ever brought it up, but I'm still thinking about it. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. Or maybe a stainless steel set screw or something, and then Loctite the crap out of it, and non-user serviceable.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, right. Oh man, thank you. That's awesome. I was talking to. Who was I talking to? Somebody on the phone, and I didn't think they knew who I was, and then all of a sudden they were like halfway through the conversation, they're like, "I love your videos." And I'm like, "Whoa, that changes the whole conversation," because obviously we have a lot more, but like, folks, this is what entrepreneurship is. It's not just shilling a product. It's building a network of team and energy and people around something. Yeah,
a community. I have a story about that too. Eric and I we were standing up on his side of the shop on the mezzanine upstairs, and from there we can't see the front door, but we heard the front door open. Falcor goes crazy and starts barking, and then we come down the stairs, and this guy comes in and he says, "Hey, I'm Paul from Elliott Matsura, where we got our lathe from," and he goes, "Normally I'm based out of Edmonton." Central Canada, basically.
Yeah, a long ways away.
Yeah, long ways away. And he said, "But I'm here for some training and some meetings and stuff, and I had to see you guys because I've been watching your videos for many, many years, back in the early Tormac days." And this is an applications engineer, an expert in his field. He's building robotic cells, transferring parts between 3 different lathes and a CMM machine. And he's been watching our videos forever, and he's like, "Man, I used to laugh my head off at your early videoes, where you're breaking end mills," and you're like, on video, you're like, I don't know why that happened. And he's like, "Increase SFM."
You're right.
And he's like, "But I didn't want to like complain and flame you and make bad comments or anything like that." But I told him, I'm like, that could have been helpful information, so don't be afraid to be helpful. But yeah, it was really funny because, he's a big fan and he was really geeking out at the shop here, and he's seen our growth. Now we have 2 amazing machines, and he's like, is there anything I can do to help, since I'm here?
Amazing.
So, yeah,
Amazing.
So we talked to Zero for about 45 minutes on lathe stuff, and I'm like, okay, I want to hold 1/10 all day long. What's wrong with that statement? And he's like, well, okay, here's what we can do.
I love it. It's amazing.
Yeah. So it was really helpful, and now I've got his email, and I'll be bugging him as often as I want.
Yeah, good for you, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to mention, in the pre-recording, we were talking about the video I just put up on the Kaizen foam.
Yeah. Oh, I loved how during that video, literally you're going, Grimsmo excited on these, and I totally agree on the plier orientation, by the way.
Yeah.
But I loved how in the middle of it, there's this beep, and you just sold a top.
Yep, my phone just went ding, like a ka-ching kind of noise. And I've got a Shopify app on my phone, which is logged into my shopping cart online. And anytime I sell a product on the website, my phone goes ka-ching. And it's kind of goofy, but it's also kind of awesome. Because even during that video, I hear the ka-ching, and I got to say it, and it's very cool. But it reminds me of a story I heard about Amazon.com. When they first started out, they were an early online business, and they set up a dinger bell so that every time they'd sell a book, it went ding. And it went from like 1 a week to 1 a day. And then before too long, it was ringing nonstop, and they had to unplug it.
Yeah, I can imagine. I only imagine.
Right.
My God. Yeah, it's funny. I don't think I would want the ding.
Right.
In fact, that goes back to the office. So like when I moved into my office this week, that finally forced me to move our shipping printer over to Noah's computer. And I said, and Noah's been doing a lot of the shipping lately, but I was kind of the one that still handled the labels, because our process isn't perfect there yet, because it's just not. And that forced me to give it to him and work with him and have him basically handle it and come to me when there's problems versus me handling everything in anticipation of a problem. And I don't want as much as I get that little endorphin high off of seeing an order come through, the truth is I need to focus and let somebody else do that.
Absolutely. There comes a point in the business when you can't have your finger on every pulse of every action. And you have to let your people do what they need to do, which is great too.
But I like it. I did it for a while. I became a quasi-expert on it. I know there's some problems which we'll fix in the medium term, but now it's off my plate.
It's great. Well, that's the whole thing of growing a business, real quick, is just making the process perfect, and then you can pass it off.
Well, which is funny though, I guess, because here I've consciously chosen to pass it off, knowing that it's not perfect, and knowing that Noah's going to spend a little bit more time over the next 2 or 3 months doing it than he will in the future. But that's okay. I'm okay having him handle that inefficiency, because we're going to grow, and as we grow, I'll spend the time to. Basically, the problem is box sizes. There's no way for Shopify to talk to ShipStation on multi-product orders to correctly handle the box size, and then international orders are funny too.
Right.
So there's some hand holding there for now. But
well, maybe with experience, Noah can come up with some solutions himself.
Yeah, that's true, and I don't do a good enough job of that. We had a problem with the Tormach 770 when we were installing it, kept tripping the breaker, and I was like, this is weird. And I was super busy, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna have Jared call Tormach support, which normally I would have done that. And Jared did, and sure enough, after about 5 minutes of walking through some stuff, Tormach was like, wait, do you have this on a GFI? And our contractor had put a GFI outlet here, I don't know why, and one of the noise reducer circuits in the Tormach tends to allow or stop some amount of back current, which tends to trip GFIs, and boom, fixed.
Right. And truth be told, that is not a John Saunders problem. Jared can absolutely handle that.
Right.
One of the things Paul Akers keeps talking about is unused employee potential.
Right. And
getting people to solve problems as well. So.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that. You're totally right.
Yep, me too.
I got to mention this. I know we're switching topics, but I don't know, and I'm not sure I care. But boy, the last 2 or 3 Wednesday widgets, the trolls have come out of the woodwork, and some pretty aggressive comments, pretty crazy to me. And I was, it bothered me, and then I was like, well, who cares? I do what I love. I'm happy. Ignore, internet heroes, keyboard heroes, blah blah blah. And then I realized, no. Here is the perfect antidote. to everybody that doesn't think I'm a good machinist or doesn't like what you or I are doing or anything like that, to anybody who has a problem, go volunteer. Go teach somebody. Go teach a group robotics thing. Teach somebody else how to run a machine. Teach somebody some process. Go give back and focus your energy there instead of trying to tell me that I don't know how to hold 6 thou across a manual lathe on a boring operation.
Right. Yeah, because we don't claim to be experts. We're doing what we love, and we are giving back to the community as much as we can. I'm happy with that.
Right?
Yeah.
You got to find you make your own. It bothered me. Well, I've said what I said, but that's my point. You can criticize me if you've been a contributor in giving back and paying it forward, trying to help inspire other people.
Yep. But that's the whole troll conversation. Is in the end, you can't let them get you down because.
Yeah, usually it doesn't. I think this one, obviously it did get me down for a day or two, and I was trying to figure out how to shrug this off. Because, to some extent, they were right. I didn't meet, I've said that publicly on the video. I didn't meet the tolerance. I couldn't do it. I didn't do it. I failed. It didn't bother me that I failed because guess what? I bet you anybody else in my shoes would have struggled the same way. And the reality is I'm not interested in YouTube videos where people just walk up to a machine and it's the John Grimsmo. You didn't just purchase a machine, hit cycle start and turn out with parts that were running out 3/10. How many freaking tools have you broken? How many hours have you spent dialing things in?
Hundreds, thousands.
Right?
I've spent and broken and wasted so much money in consumables. It's ridiculous because we're not experts and we figure it out, and we're not afraid to show a couple mistakes here and there as we learn. Like you said, we don't just walk up to a machine and make magic happen. We try and we fail and we try again and then we try again because we're resourceful and bullheaded and we don't want to stop.
You could have bought one of those high energy tumblers for the number of tools you've broken over the last year.
Yes, but then I wouldn't need it.
Oh man, it's funny.
Oh, one more story. Couple nights ago, Wednesday night. So I had a weird day all over the place doing lots of different projects and stuff. And then at the end of the day, I wanted to run 3 different programs seamlessly, lights out.
Okay.
So I took a full Rask fixture, which is a 2.5-hour run, but then I've been doing the blade grinding separately. So I combine that at the end.
Okay.
And then I'm making these DLC fixtures for holding all the screws. So I had that in the other vise, and I just copied and pasted all the codes together end by end.
No way.
I knew it would take like 3 or 4 hours, and I hit cycle start at 5:30, whenever I left. And then I went home, played with my kids, had dinner with my wife. We're sitting there talking, and it's about 8:30, and I'm explaining. I'm like, yeah. So I stitched these 3 programs together, and then it's going to do this, and then it's going to do this, and oh my God. What did I just do? I'm thinking to myself, it's going to crash and it's going to break like 13 tools. Because the station where I machine 2 soft blades, I machine the pivot hole and the arc and engraving and everything.
Yeah.
When I grind the blades, I have to put one of the hardened ground blades back in that 2-spot position.
Oh.
And so I had a hard blade in that position, not a soft blade. So it's going to try to machine, it thinks there's a water jet blank there, and it's going to machine a whole blade when there's already a hard finished blade there.
Yeah.
And it's going to cut hardened material at soft feed rates, and there's some clamps in the way that are not going to be there. And I'm like, I can only hope that I broke a tool earlier and tool breakage detection caught it and paused it. So I'm like, I'm looking at the clock, and I'm like, it's over. I can't run to the shop 12-minute drive and catch it. It's already happened. So, do I go in and assess the damage, or do I just go to bed and come in the morning? So I ended up falling asleep and coming in the morning, and thank goodness there were 2 tools sitting on my desk that I forgot to put back in the machine.
No way.
So it said missing tool number well early in the process. So
and it never ran.
Yeah, it got halfway through the Rask pallet and didn't even finish the handles, didn't get to the blades yet. And I'm like, oh my goodness, hallelujah. I saved a bullet there.
So is that a process? Is that a flawed process?
Yes.
This idea that because you could have 2 different types of blades, or you have 2 different products in the same position, basically.
Yeah, and they should not share the same position. And I do have a small area next to it where I can put that second op.
Yeah.
I just haven't gotten around to it yet. The quick and dirty way was to share the position.
Right.
But one-piece flow, all I have to do is machine a couple holes and some pin locations on the other side, and then I can do the whole thing like it's supposed to be done.
Right.
And I guess I'll do that today. But that was close.
Glad to hear that didn't. Don't you get a text if something alarms out though?
No, I haven't set up this machine to do that.
You should do that.
I could.
It's fun.
You have that?
I do. Yeah.
Explain.
It's super easy. It's called Haas Connect. It's an app on my phone, and it tells me, basically it just sends me whatever error code is on the machine. And then the other cool thing with Haas, which I just learned, is I remote into my work computer all the time. That's easy. And when I'm on my local network, I can just VNC into my Haas controller. It just shows me the whole control.
What?
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, Fanuc doesn't really have that. Some guys were telling me that you can hook an Arduino up to an RS-232 port, and then an Arduino to like a cell phone GSM card or whatever to text you, or email you or whatever. So I'd probably have to talk to your expertise about that.
Yours doesn't even have any phone connectivity built into it?
No.
Oh man, that's crazy.
It's Ethernet plugged into my wireless router, so it is on my local network at the shop.
Yeah, sure.
But what can I do except transfer programs back and forth?
Yeah, right. That's fair. I mean, I'm not trying to rag on it. The truth is that I like it, but it wouldn't. You cannot control the machine remotely, so it's really only output. But I guess it's a question of maybe if it happened at 8 p.m., I would drive back to the shop, fix it, and let it run all night rather than not know or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, I got to get some work done.
Me too.
Anything going on today, Big?
Lathe. I gotta massage this lathe and make it make some magic. Just walk up to it like a boss and turn out magic all day long.
It's been solid lately, right?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. I just need to make a lot of parts today.
Got it. We'll go make parts, dude.
I will. You too.
Sweet.
All right.
Crush it, bud. I'll see you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.